Kanisha London serves as our Deputy Director for the Compliance and Grants Administration Division. Crystal Boyce is the Compliance Manager for Contract Compliance. Crystal oversees and leads a team of professionals responsible for administering affordable rental housing compliance and the Minority Women-Owned Small Business Enterprise and Pay-to-Play program. LaQuinta Jones is our staff analyst for our pre-award services. And here are a few photos of our POP team who will oversee the contracts for POP compliance on all HCD public service projects in compliance with Executive Order 1-7 under Crystal Boyce. If you have any questions or concerns about the pay-or-play compliance requirements, or if at any time your POP administrative officer is not available, please contact either myself or Crystal Boyce, and I will be placing our contact information in the chat box. During today's presentation, I'll be discussing the Pay-or-Play program overview, the Pay-or-Play program definitions, the program requirements, the POP submission for B2G in B2G Now, final Pay-or-Play compliance review, and POP frequently asked questions and additional resources. The Office of Business Opportunity has citywide administrative oversight of the Pay-or-Play program. The Housing Community Development Department directly manages contracts for compliance with pay-or-play requirements in compliance with Executive Order 1-7. Please be advised that the Pay-or-Play program was established on July 1st of 2017 under Executive Ordinance number 2007-534, and again is governed by Executive Order 1-7. The program was created to level the playing field between contractors who offer employees healthcare benefits and those who do not, while helping offset the healthcare costs for uninsured residents in the Houston and Harris County area. For additional information, you may see Executive Order 1-7. So now I'll be discussing the Pay-or-Play program definitions. The Pay-or-Play program is applicable for prime contractors whose contracts are valued at $100,000 or above, or related subcontractors valued at $200,000 or more. This includes professional service contracts, construction, service type contracts, as well as on-call, work order, job solicitation order. This includes contingency, amendment, supplemental terms, any change order, or payments equal to or exceeding the above amounts. If there are any subcontractors on your contract, and their contract is initially below the $200,000 threshold, they will start complying once their contract meets the $200,000 threshold. This is through any type of adjustments, such as payments or any type of payment change orders. The prime contractor is responsible to the City of Houston for compliance with their covered employees and subcontractors. The Pay-or-Play program does not apply to the following type of projects. Contracts where 51% or more of the primary purpose is for procurement, purchasing of property, leases, goods, supplies, or equal equipment. Intergovernmental contracts, interlocal agreements, and bulk purchasing. Contracts for which the City of Houston has not expended any funds, regardless of the funding source. Contractors with an approved POP4 exemption form from the Office of Business Opportunity, meeting the criteria listed in Executive 1-7, that was obtained prior to the contract being awarded approval. Contractors utilizing self-employed, owner-operated individuals for services such as truck driving, day labor, or 1099 independent contractors. Please be advised that if you utilize 1099 independent contractors, you are required to notify your POP administrator, as additional information will be required to be submitted for review and approval. The Pay-or-Play program employees are covered as such. All employees of covered contracts or subcontracts, whether they are working on-site or in the office, including contract labor, those over the age of 18, and any employee who works at least 30 hours per week, with any amount of time allocated or spent on the City of Houston covered contract or subcontract. Once you have been awarded your contract, Contractors are required to submit the following pay and play required documents. You are required to submit your B2G Now Access form. This form is applicable for all employees who will be utilizing the B2G Now database. This is determined who will be responsible for submitting your POP compliance information and workforce audits in B2G, and all users must have their own login credentials. Sharing or utilizing another person's login credentials is strictly prohibited. You are required to submit your POP 1 form, which is the acknowledgement form. This is the form to acknowledge that you are aware of the POP program and you agree to comply with the pay or play program requirements. Contractors are required to submit the POP 2 certification of compliance form. This form is the form where you will choose which option you will participate under the POP program. And the POP 3 form is for if you have any subcontractors listed on your project, you will list all of your participating subcontractors that will be performing work on the project. This includes any consultants working on your behalf for the project as well. If you do not have any lower tier subcontractors, when completing the POP 3 form, you will simply put NA. Please be advised that all contractors will be required to email their pay and play required forms to their POP point of contact once they've been completed. Contractors are required to comply within 30 days of their start of work date on the project. You're also required to submit your conflict of interest disclosure form, which confirms that you have been formally notified that there is no type of conflict of interest while working on the project. If you have not received this form, please notify your point of contact and they will email one to you. This is a copy of the POP 2 form. This form is the form that you will submit to show that which option you will select to participate. You are required to fill in the top portion completely. The box in the middle is where you will elect to participate as pay, play, or both. And at the bottom, you will estimate the number of employees that you will have working on the contract. And you will sign this and submit this in. Now we're going to go over the POP program requirements. I paused for a moment because we do still have a few people that are logging in, and I want to make sure that they hear this information. Okay, I'll go ahead and continue. Contractors who choose to participate as the pay participant on the program are required to contribute $1 per hour for each covered employee working on the POP applicable contract. The maximum amount to be per employee will be $40 per employee per week by the end of the month. For workforce reporting, the contractors must enter both the following for each covered employee. You are required to enter the total hours. The total hours are the number of hours that the contractor worked on for your company for that week. The hours worked specifically are applicable to the hours worked on a specific City of Houston contract. Both columns must be completed when submitting your weekly workforce audit. Incomplete fields will result in the workforce audit being rejected. Please keep in mind, you are still required to make sure you include your office staff and any personnel assisting with entering this information as well. At the end of the month, once we do our monthly reports, a monthly invoice will be generated from the weekly workforce audit reports that you've submitted. Payments are made through our payment system, which is inside of B2G, and must be paid in full. Partial payments are not accepted. Payments are due to HCD within 30 days of the receipt of the invoice. Please be advised that we may request, if you have certified payroll on your project, or a timesheet to verify the hours reported for your pay employees. Pay requirements explained. So here are a few examples. And a covered employee without POP benefits, meaning they don't have healthcare insurance. So this is John. John is a covered employee who is not offered POP compliant health benefits. The employer must submit weekly workforce entries by entering John's total hours and hours worked into B2G under the workforce audit list. Number 2, covered employee with spousal insurance. John is a covered employee who has healthcare insurance through his spouse. The employer must submit a completed and notarized POP 8 form with proof of coverage to the POP coordinator for review and approval. POP coverage will be a copy of the front and back of the healthcare insurance card. Number 3, a covered employee who accepts POP compliant benefits. John accepts the employer's POP compliant healthcare insurance. John will be classified as a play employee, and weekly workforce hours submissions are not required. This is an example of the page, the workforce employee list audit inside of B2G. These are the two columns that you would fill in: the total hours worked, which is the number of hours they work for the company for that week, and then the hours worked. Again, the hours worked are the total amount that you will apply to the specific City of Houston project. Now we're going to discuss the play requirements. Contractors who elect to participate as a play elect contractor will be selected by providing acceptable documentation such as proof of healthcare insurance for all covered employees to qualify. The healthcare plan must meet the following requirements. The employer will pay at least 75% of the monthly premium, and the employee pays no more than 25% for the monthly premium. Contractors may be asked to submit a verification documentation, which is called the Play Eligibility Verification Form. Current and pre-printed healthcare benefit program guide for the employees will be required as well. Please note that it's very important that if your requirements are not met, the contractor will be reclassified as a paid contractor. The Housing Community Development may request for additional verifications to go along with that package. Please be advised insurance cards are not accepted as proof of healthcare coverage for quarterly submissions. What is not required? Play contractors and subcontractors do not have to enter their weekly workforce hours into the system. For additional information, please refer to our POP FAQs. Play submissions are due on a quarterly basis, and they are due by the end of the following months. The first quarter is due by the end of April, second quarter by the end of July, the third quarter by the end of October, and then the fourth quarter is due by January of the following year. Quarterly workforce audits for play contractors include the following. Play contractors will complete a quarterly workforce audit by following the following. You will upload and submit a POP7 form. The POP7 form, again, must include all of your active and covered employees, and you will provide the required healthcare documentation by uploading the supporting company healthcare benefit information such as your insurance summaries and invoice, showing the employee's name, the cost of coverage for each employee, and coverage detail for all 3 months of the months in those quarters. Submission requirements. All documents must be uploaded into the B2G Now database for auditing purpose to be considered complete. Again, insurance cards are not accepted as proof of healthcare coverage for quarterly submissions. This is an example of how the play submission page looks in B2G Now. As you can see, this is a different page from what you saw on for the pay submissions. This is what it looks like when you list your employees in the system. And this is the button that you will push to upload your information. This is an example of the quarterly POP7 form. Again, this form must be submitted into B2G Now along with your company's healthcare insurance invoices and summaries and detail the cost of coverage. The following columns must be filled in. The top portion of the form must be filled in. You must list all of your active and covered employees. You must list the insurance premium amount for both the employer and employee and the benefit start and end year. So we also have a form called a POP8 Exemption Employee Waiver Request Form. An employee may be considered exempt if a covered employee has acquired healthcare coverage on their own or if they have refused healthcare coverage from your company that meets the POP applicable requirements. And these are the following conditions. If the employee is under the age of 18, if the employee has healthcare coverage through their spouse, Medicaid, Medicare, and they must provide proof, the employee declines the healthcare company's insurance that meets the POP requirements. A contractor may request this exemption by submitting this form in, notarized with the required information to your POP administrative coordinator for review and approval. An employee is not considered exempt unless they have an Office of Business Opportunity approved POP8 waiver on file. Please be advised approved POP8 waiver forms are valid for 1 year from the approval date, and contractors must resubmit their waiver form each year that their contract continues to perform work on this project. This is an example of what the Pop 8 waiver form looks like. Please be advised that all area must be completed and be submitted, ensuring that the notary seal is included. If an employee decides to decline the coverage and selects option 4 for any other reason than the 3 listed above, they must provide a clear and reasonable explanation on the line provided. Simply putting the word no or I decline without an explanation will result in the form being rejected. Additionally, if the employee declines coverage that your company offers, they must list the financial contribution amount that they were offered that they would have paid for a single employee if the insurance had been accepted. We do understand that some contractors utilize self-insured insurance. In the event of that, contractors may request a POP 9 self-insured contractor request form. And this is for employees who use their company's money to cover the employee's health insurance claims. This form is available only upon request. Once this form is requested, the contractor must complete the POP 9 form, which is a notarized document, and submit it back with all of the required supporting documents via email to the POP administrator for review and approval. Contractors that are approved for self-insurance status will be classified as play participants and are required to report this form once a year. To qualify, the contractor must have an OBO-approved POP 9 form on file. Only approved POP 9 forms and required documentation should be uploaded or sent in to the system. Approved POP 9s are valid for 1 year from the date of approval. Contractors must resubmit the POP 9 form on an annual basis. For each year, they continue to perform work under the POP applicable contract. Now we're going to be discussing the B2G Now database. The B2G Now is the management system for all POP workforce audit submissions. The POP 7 and supporting documents will be uploaded or submitted into the workforce audits into B2G on a quarterly basis. Paid weekly workforce audits are required to be submitted in B2G for review and approval through an online workforce utilization model. After the weekly audits are received and approved from the POP administrator, monthly invoices will be generated and distributed to the contractor or subcontractor. Utilize Paymentus payment portal in B2G to pay all workforce invoices. Again, partial payments for POP will not be accepted and invoices must be paid in full. To ensure consistency in workforce audits, all B2G users again must utilize their own credentials when completing the workforce audits. And this is a copy of the link for the B2G Now database. So now we're going to go over the B2G Now overview. We're going to discuss viewing the POP contracts in B2G, adding employees into B2G Now, assigning employees to a contract, submitting weekly workforce audits for paid contractors, filling in weekly audits, saving and certifying audits, submitting quarterly workforce audits for the play elect contractors, and uploading, attaching documents for audits. Again, this information may be seen on our frequently asked questions for more information. When you first log into the B2G Now database, you will be taken to the main dashboard screen. On this dashboard, you will be able to view your City of Houston contracts by going to this dashboard under either the Contracts tab, which is located on the left-hand side, or at the top of the screen on the main dash. Once you select one of those options, it will open up another page. The contracts will appear once you click the contract button, and this just shows one contract, but if you have several contracts, it will show the contracts that you have listed with the city. And to select the contract that you are wanting to view, you will select the View tab next to the contract for which you are submitting your POP workforce audit submission. The contract page will open. Once the page opens, at the top, you will see that there are 4 tabs dedicated for the Pay or Play program, which they're going to say Workforce Audit. All employees who will be working on the contract must first be entered into B2G Now before submitting any audits. To do this, go to the Workforce Employee List tab at the top of the screen, and once that screen opens, you will select the Manage Employee tab. This is also the tab that you will select if you need to examine, update, or add any new employees to your contract. Once you add them here, they will be added to your workforce employee list. After selecting the Manage Employee tab, you can add your employees by clicking the Add Employee button. Remember to include all active and covered employees working on the project to your workforce employee list. This includes office staff, superintendents, project managers, and on-site supervisors, and any employees working on-site. To ensure consistency in workforce audits, all B2G users again must utilize their own login credentials. Once you click the Add Employee tab, you will be redirected to the Edit Employee page. Here's the page where you will add your employees to the project. Please fill in the sections marked with the asterisk. You are not required to complete the other sections of this form. It is critical that all employees working on the projects utilize their legal government names, such as their first and last name, which should match the names that are listed in your payroll system and on any of your sign-in sheets. This practice helps to avoid any use of nicknames. After entering in your employees' names, you will select Yes to indicate that they are an active employee and click the Save button to store the information. Alternatively, you can select Save and New to add another employee. Once you've selected and added your last employee, you will click the Save and Return button, and this will take you back to the employee list. After adding all of your employees to the employee list, you will now need to assign them to your project. You will do so by going to the Workforce Employee List tab in B2G. Once you're on that tab, you will see the tab that says Assign Employee to Contract. If an employee is missing from the list, you will simply click the Add Employee button again that we just went over to add them to the list. Once you've selected the Assign Employee button, this is the page that will open. The very first box that you see is actually a drop-down box. This is the box where you will go in and you will select all of the employees to add to the project. The next column that you would the next section you will fill in will be your craft. The craft is the option of selecting paid, play, or exempt. Again, an employee can only be classified as exempt if they have an approved form on file. So that if you mark them as exempt, you will be required to submit that information in. You are required to add the start date on the contract. The start date on the contract is the date that your employee actually started working on the project. You will make sure that you select the Yes button or the Yes tab to ensure that you're making sure this employee is marked as active. If you would like to make any notes related to this employee, you may do so in the box. Once you've done that, you will select Save. After selecting Save, your employees will then be added to the project. Now we're going to go over the paid weekly workforce audit submissions. To submit your weekly workforce audits, now that you've already entered in all of your employees, you will select the Workforce Audit tab, Audit List tab at the top of the page. Next to the week that you want to submit, you will select View. If the View tab is not available, you can simply select the Add Audit button, and this button will open up that week for you. Once that week is open, it will show as incomplete, and then you will select the View tab that appears next to that week for your submission. Again, play vendors must submit weekly updates throughout the entirety of the project. As mentioned before, paid vendors do not offer healthcare insurance that meet the proper requirements and are required to submit the hours worked on a weekly basis. Once you've selected the View tab, I apologize, let me go back. If you see a red line that says incomplete, that means that you have not submitted your weekly workforce audit for that week. Again, to open that audit, you will again select the View tab. Once you click the View tab, it will redirect you to the workforce audit for that week. You will select the Fill in Audit option. The employees will be visible, listed will be visible. So to add an employee with the gray background to the audit, you will simply select Add to Audit. So if this is your first time doing an audit, all of your employees that you have listed will be in the gray background, which means you would need to select the audit button for that week. If you would like to add all of the employees, you do have the option to add all the remaining employees to the audit. Once you've added those employees to the audit and you selected the Fill in Audit tab, Play vendors should enter in both the total hours and the hours worked columns. The total hours columns show, again, the number of hours they work for your company and the hours worked or for the number of hours worked on this specific contract. As you can see, there are different numbers in each column. If you work 40 hours a week for your company, you will go put that number here. If you worked 40 hours or less, whatever number was worked for that employee, that will go in this box here. If you do not perform any work during that week, you will select the no work button box at the top. And if it's your final week, you will select the final box at the top. Once you've filled in all the required credentials, you will select the button at the bottom and it will take you to the review page. At that stage, you're able to review your audit. It tells you the total hours that you've entered in for both columns, and it also allows you at the bottom to make any edits. Or if you need to come back, you can hit Save and Certify later, which will allow you to come back to that audit. But if you select Save and Certify now, it will take you forward, and it will push your audit to us for review. Once we've received your audit, once you hit the review tab, it will take you to the finalization page. This is the page where you will enter in your name as you're the person that's certifying this audit, and you will click Save. It will then take you to the final certification page where you will click the button to say that you are certifying this audit, and then you will submit it in to us for release to the organization for review. Now we'll be discussing the play submission portion of the Pay or Play program. So this again is a copy of the Workforce Employee List. On the Workforce Employee List tab, this is where all of your employees will be listed. As you can see, some of these employees are listed as pay, play, or exempt. Our focus in this area is just for our play elect employees only. So to submit your play submission, again, which is your POP 7 and your quarterly audit documentation, you will select the Manage Craft Review tab at the bottom of the screen. You will then see all of your play or exempt employees in the area that appears. Please be sure to only choose the employees who actually worked during the 3 months in that quarter, and make sure they're the play elect contract employees. If you have any employees that are POP exempt, please make sure they are not selected, especially if they have been previously approved. In order to add your audit to the system, you will select the button that says Choose File. Once you've chosen the Choose File button, it will open up a window for you to select and attach your documents. Please attach and upload your documents in bulk. This includes the POP 7, again, that's filled in completely with all of your employees for that quarter, as well as your proof of healthcare insurance. We do ask that if you are submitting more than one attachment, please hold down the Shift button so that all items can be uploaded at one time. If you upload one document and then try to come back and upload another document, it will knock the first document out. Once you've ensured that you've included all of the documents that you want to add, you will select the Open button. Once you've selected the Open button, it will take you back to the previous screen. And as you can see, it shows that 2 documents were attached, or 2 files. If you know that you uploaded more than one document and you don't see that multiple files have been attached, that means you would have to click that button again and ensure that those documents are attached. We do ask for you to please specify which quarter you are uploading in the comments section. For example, first quarter of 2023. Once you've done that, please select the box at the bottom to ensure that you're confirming the information, and then you will select the review button at the bottom. Once you select, the Save Review button. Once you select that, a box will open at the top. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to save the updated selected records? You're going to click OK. The following screen will have a green box that says the selected craft review has been updated successfully. To exit from this, you will select the X near to the double-headed arrow. Once you select that button, it's going to say a confirmation page will appear asking, are you sure you want to close out without saving? Because you received confirmation on your previous page, you're going to select OK because you know the information has been saved. This is what the POP officer will see once they are reviewing your information in B2G on our end. As you can see, there are 2 documents attached. Every month by the 5th business day, a compliance status report will be submitted to the prime contractor. This is to notify the prime contractor of any non-compliance, pending, or compliant items related to the project. We request that the Prime, email us back a copy of the compliance status report with their notes in the comments section once non-compliant items have been resolved. To prevent any miscommunication or understanding, request that each contractor contact their POP administrator directly for any POP-related issues. This includes for rejecting audits, addressing any questions or concerns, submitting any documentation, or providing payment confirmation. To avoid any delays in payment draws, we ask that you resolve your outstanding compliance issues noted as soon as possible. Now we're going to discuss the final POP compliance review. The final POP compliance review to ensure full compliance with POP requirements for the final POP closeout, all projects, we please ensure the following requirements are met. All POP forms required have been submitted. Any approved forms have been uploaded. We ask that any notices, we ensure that all contractors provide their start of work notice, termination of work notice, and any other additional notices that have been required. All paid quarterly workforce audit submissions have been submitted and approved. All paid weekly workforce audits have been submitted and approved. All invoices have been completed and paid in full. And any additional documentation that has been required, such as letter of explanation or verification for clarification purposes related to the contract. Failure to meet with the POP requirements and provide the necessary documentation will result in retainage payments being withheld until the contract receives full compliance with POP regulations. Now we're going to go over some frequently asked questions. Number one, are only employees working on the job site required to be listed on the workforce employee list? No, all employees who work on the city contract, whether on-site or in the office, must be included on the workforce audit employee list and accounted for during the audits for all POP applicable contracts. Number two, my employee has his or her own insurance and my company does not pay for it. Does this mean he or she must submit a notarized POP 8 form for exemption? Yes, you must submit a completed and notarized POP 8 form along with proof of healthcare insurance. Again, this is the only time we will accept copies of the employee's insurance card, and email that in with the proof of insurance to your POP administrator for review and approval. Number three, I'm a subcontractor on a City of Houston POP contract, and my contract ended before the POP contractor finished on the job. Do I still have to submit POP submissions? No. Please submit and upload your termination of work notice or send it into your POP administrator with the date that your contract was completed and submit your final audit into B2G now, and ensuring that you mark it as your final week. Number four, are some contractors required to comply with the POP program if they are not MWSB or Section 3? Yes, all contractors with professional service, construction, or general service contracts whose contracts amount meet or exceed the $200,000 threshold are required to comply with pay-or-play requirements. Number five, do any of the POP workforce invoice payments benefit my company? Unfortunately, they do not. The pay-or-play payments are deposited into the Contract Responsibilities Fund, which should not be used for any other purpose except to assist in providing healthcare insurance services for the uninsured persons in the Houston area. To learn more, you may see the OBO's website. And please be advised that if you have a contractor working on the project and they do not have insurance, they can be referred over to that area to obtain that information. Now we're going to discuss additional resources. If you would like to request a copy of the POP frequently asked questions, please send an email to your POP administrator or to myself. A few of the questions that we are frequently asked is, where should the POP forms be submitted? How should the POP 8 form be submitted? How do I submit a pay or play workforce audit? How do I pay my invoices? And a few more. This concludes the Pay or Play program presentation. Are there any questions in the chat box that need to be addressed? Okay, I do not see any questions in the chat box. We would like to thank you for participating in the Contract Compliance Technical Assistance Training. We hope that you found this both useful and enlightening. Our main goal was to ensure your understanding of the relevant program regulations and standards and to provide you with resources and guidance needed to maintain 100% compliance on your POP project throughout the project's duration. The training covered many important topics. If you have any questions, please refer to the contact information provided in the chat box. We would also appreciate your feedback. If you would let your POP administrator know how you feel like the presentation went. We will also review that information. So best of luck to the contractors on their projects. If you need any assistance or have any questions, please feel free to contact your coordinator. Thank you again for participating in the contract compliance technical assistant training. Please encourage future contractors, vendors, subcontractors, suppliers, service providers, or any compliance consultants working on your project to attend any future trainings that we may have. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you on your projects. Best of luck and have a great day.